What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video doing a comprehensive breakdown of Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Over the couple of days, Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, the hype has increased tremendously. We got Tom Aspinall out here saying things about Jon Jones like he's fat, he hasn't fought in so long, he would retire him without even fighting him. And then Jon Jones is out here telling everyone that he doesn't have to fight anyone because he's the king, he's the best in the world, he's already proven that. But I do think that this fight needs to happen within the UFC octagon to truly see who the heavyweight king is. I want to go through 5 comprehensive breakdowns sections to ultimately determine who will win this fight. This is a little bit different than my other breakdowns because I want to go super in-depth between these two fighters. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help support the channel. And also, please go turn on the post notifications. It's free, as well as subscribing and liking is also free. So please go do that just to help the channel grow very, very fastly. But let's jump right into the video of a comprehensive breakdown between Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones. Okay, so I want to kind of explain this prior to going into a very big breakdown. I want to do 5 different categories to ultimately determine who is going to win this fight, and I will kind of elaborate if there's a massive discrepancy in the category, if it's not that big, or what the specific reason is that I'm giving a harsher grade to one fighter than another, because these categories, it's not going to be a win or lose for each one. It's just to be able to gauge how good the fighter is in that respective area of MMA. So the 5 categories are striking, grappling, experience, power, and athleticism. I want to be able to use these 5 different categories to truly be able to break down Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones, because this fight has so many different aspects in it, and it's probably one of the best fights you could make inside the UFC organization. So let's start with the first one in striking. Striking is a very big category for these UFC heavyweights because striking allows these guys to be able to stand on the feet, get some crazy knockdowns, and be able to prevent the takedown. And Alex Pereira's way, he uses that body jab to prevent the takedown. So a lot of these other fighters can use the body jab to really prevent the takedown. But who do I think is the better striker out of the two? And I got to go with Tom Aspinall. I think Tom Aspinall is just a better striker than Jon Jones. He's able to mix it up a little bit better. He's able to pop that stuff really out there. He's able to go out there and truly show that he has everything that he needs in that category in the striking department. He's super fast. He's super powerful. And he's able to, move that for different categories. He's super smart. He's able to move that low, high, and ultimately catch Jon Jones, in my opinion. Now, Jon Jones is a very good striker. He's just a little bit older, which is the biggest gripe I have against Jon Jones. His power would still be there. That's the last thing to leave. But his athleticism, his speed really isn't there. And I just wanted to say that Tom Aspinall, I think being the younger fighter, being the fresher fighter, is going to have a lot more behind him, considering that he is a better striker than Jon Jones. And it's been proven on Jon Jones' last fight, where he's had one fight in the past 4 years, and that was a submission win over Zil Khan. In Tom Aspinall's last 2 fights combined, he's had a total fight time of 2 minutes and 7 seconds against 2 of the top heavyweights in the world, and add in Marcin Tybura prior to that, and that's another minute and 13 seconds to have Tom Aspinall have the shortest fight time in the UFC, and those last 3 fights have been by knockout. So I'm going to say Tom Aspinall is the better striker of the two. And now let's move on to grappling. Who is the better grappler of Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall? And this is a very hard one to gauge because in their primes, if both fighters were in their primes, I would 100% say Jon Jones is a better grappler. He has that wrestling background when he was younger. I know he did collegiate wrestling and he was wrestling in high school, but Tom Aspinall kind of did some jiu-jitsu when he was younger as well. So who do I believe is the better grappler? I'm going to have to side with Jon Jones very, 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 just not heavily, just go with Jon Jones just easily because of that experience that he's possessed inside the UFC. Now, Tom Aspinall could 100% hold his own in the grappling department, so I don't think there isn't a big discrepancy there. A lot of people don't understand how good Tom Aspinall's jiu-jitsu is, how good his wrestling is, and how good he is on the ground as a fighter. A lot of people just know that these big guys have power, some guys have speed, and guys don't do takedowns. You look at that fight with Tai Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, that was a full-on kickboxing swinging match between the two heavyweights, but Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones has so much more. And that's why both of these guys are such good grapplers, and that's why that brings a completely different aspect into the MMA world. But how do I think that, or why do I think that Tom Aspinall has an ability to stand on the ground with John Jones, considering that John Jones is one of the best in the sport in that department, submitting Cyril Gahn as an example in under 2 minutes, or maybe over 2 minutes. It was some number like that, but Tom Aspinall knows he's got a very high fight IQ to where he can shoot immediately. He submitted Alexander Volkov, who just beat Sergey Pavlovich in a very dominant win at UFC Abu Dhabi, or I meant UFC Saudi Arabia, and that is a very good win on Tom Aspinall's resume, and he understands that he wouldn't want to go to the ground with John Jones, but he could hold his own in that department. Now, John Jones is the more experienced fighter on the ground. He might be a little bit older, but grappling is something that will stay with you for a long time. So I do think that John Jones has the advantage in the grappling department, although it is not that apparent. But if we are going to give a point, or however we're going to do this, I would definitely favor John Jones in the grappling department. Okay, so in the experience department, it's actually really a lot closer than you think. Even though John Jones became the youngest UFC champion at 23 years old, he's now 36 years old, and he has not fought in a title fight since prior to becoming champion at age 23. But you got to remember that John Jones's reign was at light heavyweight, so he does have a lot of fighting experience in there. But a lot of these divisions, say you look bantamweight to featherweight, that's only a 10-pound gap. Light heavyweight to heavyweight is a gap of 60 pounds, which is a massive jump in weight for some of these guys. Like Daniel Cormier was he was a lighter heavyweight, but when he dropped down to light heavyweight, he was a massive fighter in that division. So John Jones does have the experience against some of these guys in that light heavyweight division that he can transfer over into the heavyweight division. Now, the only difference that Tom Aspinall has over John Jones is the true heavyweight experience. He's fought the likes of Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, Curtis Blades, Marcin Tybura, a lot of these guys who are truly massive individuals, to where Tom Aspinall can really bring that into a fight with John Jones, because John Jones is now massive. He's a bigger fighter. He might not be as fit as he once was, but he definitely has put on a lot of weight, which he can use in there. And I think Tom Aspinall is going to know the key pieces in that heavyweight exchange, and a lot of other different ways to get the fight to the ground, or also keep the fight standing, whatever Tom Aspinall wants to do. Now, in the experience department, I'm not going to say any fighter wins, because like I said, John Jones has so much experience inside the octagon. Tom Aspinall has a lot less, but John Jones's experience was just in fighting in general, and this is such a big weight gap and weight jump difference that I think Tom Aspinall's experience versus these heavyweights is something that John Jones really needed. And yes, I understand that John Jones beat Cyril Gahn, but Cyril Gahn isn't the greatest heavyweight in the world. He's incredibly one-dimensional, and that was something that John Jones was able to exploit, and although go in there and defeat Gahn in a very dominant fashion. But ultimately, I do think that it is kind of a draw in the experience department, considering that John Jones has so much experience in the UFC, and Tom Aspinall has ran through a bunch of these heavyweights in the UFC organization. And now let's move on to power. And power isn't necessarily just standing and banging on the feet. Power is the ability to kind of get fights to a ground, be able to switch positions, and do it without their opponent really having a say in what they're doing. A great example of power in the UFC was the fight between Ilia Topuria and Bryce Mitchell, where Ilia Topuria was flailing Mitchell all the way across the octagon. If you've not seen that fight, that's a great fight to watch. And Ilia was just a little more powerful individual in there. But who would be the more powerful fighter between Tom Aspinall and John Jones? And I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall. I think it's just because Tom has a natural frame for the heavyweight division, where John Jones has put on a lot of that weight. Now, you look at John Jones still being able to use his trips and being able to do that, and that goes more in the grappling department, which is a very effective way to get your opponent to the ground. But in sheer power, I think that Tom Aspinall is going to have the advantage. Now, also on the feet, Tom Aspinall is going to have an advantage with that power because of that speed that he has, and it just exemplifies it perfectly. It helps just make it bigger. It helps just do everything he needs to in that category, because that speed just fully just makes the power hit 10 times harder. And I think that's going to be something for John Jones that's going to be really, really, really hard to deal with. Now, John Jones is going to have a lot of power in that grappling department, and being able to manipulate positions, to be able to really do a lot of things that Tom Aspinall hasn't hasn't seen before from a heavyweight. But Tom Aspinall's speed and just ultimate power that just does so much for him, and that stand-up and being a natural heavyweight is going to really aid him in this fight with Jon Jones, and that is why I say that Tom Aspinall is going to have more power than Jon Jones. And lastly, I have athleticism on there, and I'm going to say that Tom Aspinall is going to have more athleticism, and I think it's going to be pretty easy. I do not know if Jon Jones can go 5 rounds anymore. I just don't know about that his age. Every single fighter in the UFC is going to get older. They're going to lose their step, and there's no shame in that, but I just don't understand if Jon Jones is going to have the energy and everything to go full 5 rounds with Aspinall if needed. You all know that Jon Jones is going to be incredibly disciplined in the grappling department, which is going to allow him to avoid submissions and avoid really big damage on the ground and on the stand-up as well. He's going to be able to see everything. So then that's going to rely on 2 different things. One being experience, which you touched on earlier, and that's going to be the athleticism, the gas tank to go all 5 fives if we truly need it. And I just think that I trust Tom Aspinall to go 5 fives better than someone like Jon Jones. I mean, Tom Aspinall is so good in this fight. I see him finishing Jon Jones. There's no way he doesn't, but I just think that he's going to be more prepared. I think he's hungrier. I think that every little bit inside the UFC favors Tom Aspinall. He's just going to be the younger fighter. He's going to be a lot more fresh. Jon Jones has so many miles on the clock to where I think the athleticism in the department of these 2 fighters is going to lean in Tom Aspinall's favor. After a comprehensive review of these 2 fighters and going through different categories with one another, I do think that Tom Aspinall holds the advantage over Jon Jones, and that is not me predicting fully of how Tom Aspinall is going to win, that Tom Aspinall is going to KO for Jon Jones in the first punch he throws, but I'm just saying that, in my opinion, I believe Tom Aspinall has the advantage going in there inside the octagon with Jon Jones. Kind of recapping everything, starting with the striking department, I think Tom Aspinall has more power and he has more speed, and he has perfect technique in that striking department for the heavyweight division to where he's going to be able to throw Jon Jones off. If we look at their last 3 fights, both individually, I mean, let's see. Tom Aspinall has 3 finishes with a total fight time of 3 minutes and like 20 seconds or 21 seconds or something like that. That is insane. And Jon Jones does not have a finish in his last 3 fights, I believe. So that is something going for him. You got that grappling department, which I think Jon Jones is going to be favored in just because he has that just complete array of moves and that experience, just grappling for so long. But Tom Aspinall isn't that far behind Jon Jones, and it's actually apparent. And I think a lot of this going into it is we don't know how Jon Jones is going to really fare against a heavyweight. I think light heavyweight Jon Jones would have defeated Ciryl Gane. That's just truly it. I think that Ciryl wasn't the greatest fighter, and I think light heavyweight Jon Jones would have even done Ciryl Gane more dirty. But I do think in the grappling department right now, I do think I'm favoring Jon Jones. In the experience department, it's really hard to tell. Jon Jones has the length of time to experience, but Tom Aspinall has the heavyweight division experience. So I'm going to say that neither one takes it. But for both power and athleticism, Tom Aspinall being a younger fighter, being a hungrier fighter, we all know that Tom Aspinall is going to go put in extra rounds in the gym. We all know what Tom Aspinall wants. He wants that undisputed heavyweight gold, and Jon Jones just kind of is looking to retire at this point to get out of the UFC because of his career being already amazing. So I have Tom Aspinall taking the power and athleticism department. Ultimately, like I said, this is an amazing fight between 2 individuals who have some of the greatest UFC times in that heavyweight division currently. This would be one of the best, if not the best fight in the UFC to put on. And truly, I think that this is a fight that could headline a pay-per-view and be the most sold pay-per-view of all time. There is so much hype behind it. There are so many different individuals in the UFC looking for a fight between these 2. And truly, I think that Tom Aspinall v. Jon Jones needs to happen very, very soon. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please have a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help me support grow the channel. And also, while you're down there, turn on the post notifications button and hit a like on the video just so you guys do not miss UFC content that is uploaded daily. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and I will catch you guys very, very soon with more UFC content and news.